First, I want to say welcome everybody to our today's webinar and about cleaning and stuff. And we have several guests who will be moderating today. So, sorry, I'm getting everything. My computer is now being slow. I'm sure none of y'all have these kind of issues, do y'all? No.
I'm trying to use Zoom.
Yeah. So today, again, studio and gear cleaning and safety discussions. Our moderators who will be speaking to us are Sean McDonald, Director of Neumann Media at Neumann University, and John Devecka, Operations Manager at WLOY, Loyola Radio in Loyola University, Maryland. And Laura, I'm not even going to try to, is it Gutknecht? Is Laura, she jumped off?
I think she jumped off to try and...
Yeah, she's been having some audio issues this morning, today. So that's kind of why we were kind of delayed. We were trying to get everything going here. And hopefully she'll be back on. And she's from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and she's the technical director of WSUM. So, so today we're gonna, just so you know, we're gonna be recording the video and stuff. So it will be posted. If there's any issues, if you have, be aware of that. So if some of y'all may run into some of those problems or questions and whatever. And again, we're going to try today for not strictly a straight up webinar where we're instructing everything. We're going to have more of a chat, kind of like a big round table here over what's some of the best practices that we're using to help clean our studios, clean our equipment, and what are some things that maybe some of y'all know and some of y'all don't, and some different ways that may help us out with everything that we're doing. John and Sean and Laura will kind of facilitate and kind of lead us off, and then if y'all got questions and stuff and want to jump in, let us know. And what we're going to do here is, if you got some questions, kind of raise your hand or pop it into the chat, and then I'll jump in and kind of call on y'all to speak up and give you questions, or I'll read them off and go from there. And so let me, nope, that's not what I wanted to pull up. And so I guess we'll go ahead and get started here. So first, here's a kind of get us started here, a general question. And again, Sean and John, will let you take the lead. What is the current status of your campus return, and will students be in the studios and using your gear, and will other people like community volunteers be coming in?
Well, I guess I can start. As of Friday, we are remote only. No students coming back to campus for the fall semester. So everything that I was working on for setting up procedures and protocols in the studio is mostly moot at this point. I have one student who has special housing accommodations, so he's been on campus actually this entire time, including the summer, and is going to still be on campus for the fall. He is a DJ and normally my business manager doing underwriting and stuff. So he's been coming in almost every day and doing various tasks in the station. He and I have been kind of developing the protocols to make sure that we sort of make things as simple and easy as possible. I imagine they're pretty similar to what a lot of people are doing. I'm wearing my mask because one of our rules is if you're on campus, you're wearing a mask, period. Our rule inside the station is you're wearing a mask, period. You can wear a lighter weight mask when you are using a microphone, if the microphone has a cover. And we have disposable covers that have been ordered that are going to be somewhere in transit, God knows where. But microphone and headset covers. The plan was we were going to ask DJs to bring their own headphones and or earbuds and provide adapters until they all got run through and lost, stolen, or otherwise, and I had to get more. But the basic procedure was we were working on a schedule so that our normal office hours are Monday through Friday. We were going to go to 7 days a week and spread it so that our DJs and our staff had much less overlap, and as opposed to our normal situation where we might have 6 or 8 people in the studios at a time. We have a main lobby area, which normally has 3 workstations in it, and we have 4 studios. So students normally would be pretty crowded in here. So we were trying to work on spreading that out so that everybody would be isolated. If there was overlap of multiple students in the studios at the same time, they would be directed on how to come in, notify whoever else was working that they were present, and go into their own separate studio so that they were working uniquely in each room. We have a box of disposable gloves that's right by the entrance to the studios. We have show and tell. We have Clorox wipes piled up all over the place. We have rubbing alcohol, and the students are instructed to wipe down everything in the studios prior to working, and then wipe it down again when they're done working, including door handles and everything as they leave the rooms. It's been working well with Eddie, who's the DJ student who's been here. We worked with our facilities office, and they provided us with the cleaning supplies. We didn't have to go purchase them. Separately, though, I have purchased isopropyl alcohol because I don't want Lysol getting sprayed inside my console, or Clorox wipes on my console. That's kind of the standard. We have disposable gloves. I also have these lovely nitrile coated gloves, which you can buy 10 packs pretty cheaply. They're nice because they don't tear, and you can keep using them if you have to be moving a lot of gear around or you have to be lifting and carrying a lot of stuff. So it's just a nice extra to have. The other issue for us is the studios are we have a new room we're building kind of across the hall that would have students crossing sort of common areas and going in and out of the spaces, and we basically said you can't use that, with the exception of the one kid who's here all the time. That's where our vinyl is stored, and we were basically going to say no vinyl this for the fall because it would be too difficult to be constantly trying to wipe that stuff down. We'd damage the covers if we were wiping everything with Clorox, etc. So rather than worry about that, we're just not going to do it. Standard procedure actually in the station normally, even before all this, once a week, I would normally just go in and basically Lysol the entire wall of CDs in the station, just to give everything a bit of a cleaning and reduce our standard fall flu chaos that we normally would have. The other thing that we had done in preparation was get a whole bunch of regular foam mic covers. So I have a big box of those, and the hope was to follow what I think a number of people were talking about, which is provide a cover to each DJ, and that would be their cover to take and leave with them. But we also, like I said, had ordered a whole lot of mic and headphone covers as well, just to have sort of an extra layer of protection there. We got, through a local print shop, we got a bunch of radio station graphic t-shirt type masks. They're not super thick, but there's going to be a pile of them. There was going to be, there still will be, it just won't get used right now. There's going to be a pile of those at the door coming into the station, and people would be able to take one if they didn't for some reason have a mask with them, but also they could take one that they could use as their on-air mask because it's a little easier to talk through those. It's not, it's not an N95, but it's something that would help. But yeah, at this point, all of that's pretty much out the window. So it's just the one DJ and I, and we just make sure that we are scheduling ourselves to not be in here at the same time and cleaning everything when we come and go. So it's kind of where we're at the moment.
So as of right now, Neumann University is still opening up in a hybrid model, and all of our neighboring schools are beginning to shut down. So knock on wood, we're probably just a matter of time, but we have students on campus right now. This week we started prep days for our new students and our transfer students. So it was time to get back in here. So this is like my first full week back, trying to get everything set up, socially distanced and cleaning wise. And throughout the whole process, we've been buying a lot of things and anticipating that we would get in eventually. So it's all here waiting for me, and I'm slowly but surely getting through it. I'm in one of our editing suites right now, and one of the things that we're doing, because we're audio over IP, is I'm separating all the DJs. We have five if you include my office. We have 5 studios that can all go on air easily. So I've installed PTZ cameras into the editing rooms. The main studio and Studio B can see each other because there's a window in between them. And we installed monitors next to the setup that I have in here. And I created a letterbox so all the different rooms can see each other. And they're going to be using Microsoft Teams to chat. We have a team just for the radio station, and each individual show has their own channel so they can talk to each other. Speaking of the masks, I had some masks made, branded with Neumann Media and our radio station logo on it. Every student is going to get one of those. It's pretty thick. I was on the air with it yesterday, and you couldn't really tell. So yay for that. Like John, I bought as many windscreens as I can. We always clean them routinely. You should be, and if you're not, you might want to start. But Jessica at Broadcaster General Store and B&H, anytime that they had them, I was just buying them. So it just was helping us out with our cleaning rotation. I also chatted with our facilities folks, and they gave us Virex 256. And apparently it is ready to kill coronavirus, and they have a whole bunch of this that they can make up for us. So they're providing us with bottles of this and terry cloth towels so we can wipe down our surfaces. Prior to COVID-19, I bought a lot of Lysol and Clorox wipes, so we were already doing that. It was part of our students' tasks. If you're going to be in the house, then you need to clean the house just like they would at home, except I can enforce it. So that's just extra precaution. Now they have to wipe down every single time that they walk in and out. We are installing plexiglass. We measured it in our main studio. Our air console, our table is about 10 feet long. So we're able to put a large plexiglass down the middle, and then we're going to put a couple of pods, but I'm not going to let more than 3 people in the room at a time, and they will still have to wear their masks. Our rule as well is if you're on campus, you have a mask on. I'm the only human being in my building right now, and I locked all the doors and no one can get in. So thus my non-masked face at the moment. But some students are opting to not come on campus. They are virtual. They're taking virtual courses, and they still want to participate somehow. So on top of doing all of our preparation for cleaning, I've also had to think like the engineer in my head and figure out how am I going to do this affordably and not really degrade sound quality. So I've been buying up any of those little PreSonus USB boxes that you can find. We get them for $80 through B&H, and I have 7 of them right now. And I'm just preparing racks and to-go boxes for when we go online to at least my advanced radio class, so that they can have first dibs and we can continue to work remotely and still sound good. When it comes to our rental, because that was something else that Steve had brought up, what are we doing for rental gear? I'm trying not to rent much out, quite frankly. Some of our classes need to use some equipment, like our advanced video class. There are 11 students. No, I'm sorry. There's 15 students in that class. I have 30 camera kits, and those 15 students are getting a dedicated kit, and that's the only kit they're allowed to sign out for the entire semester. They're not allowed a touch number 7 if they're number 2. Number 2 is yours. They're going to sign a waiver that it has to be returned as is. If it's lost, they're going to be paying the value of the camera. I'm not doing depreciation. I want to scare the crap out of them to not break my stuff. And they're going to be given more of the cleaning solution that's already in the camera kit. So when we built our kits, we made sure that there was lens cleaning stuff in there. We made sure that there was alcohol wipes. So we are providing extras of those items. But once those students sign them out, no one else is allowed to touch those camera kits. They're being assigned, and anything else is for Neumann Media Productions only. I'm not signing it out to a random student that wants to go and do a video project this semester because I don't know where it's going. We're trying to limit how many people are leaving campus and coming back, and if it's a commuter student, they can sign out a camera for while they're on campus. Then we're going to clean it out, and we're going to quarantine it for 2 to 3 days after it's been wiped down, just to be extra cautious. The CDC is saying that it's not going to stay on to, items for that long, but I'd rather be safe than sorry, because we're relying on college students to be honest. And I love them, but you all know that they may not always be truly honest with you, because that cough, they're like, oh, it's nothing, it's my allergies. So I'm going to say I don't have a cough on our self-help health check thing. I don't trust them. So we're being extra cautious. I bought about 1,000 of these little guys that John was talking about, and one of the previous CBI calls, and even in the listserv, I've thrown these out. John, we bought them both. We both got them from Amazon, I think, for like 100 pack for $10 or something like that. Something absurd, right?
I actually ordered mine through Broadcast General Store, and
okay.
They weren't crazy expensive, but they got set up as a dealer for the whatever the brand was. And
they come in like this. They're like packs of 100.
Are those,
they weren't very expensive?
Were those the microphone ones, or were those the headphone ones?
These are the headphone ones, and the headphone ones, when you take this 7B's cover off like this, you can still put it on, and it fits. It also fits on a standard C414. It fits very well on an RE20. It fits very well on a Shure KSM 32. And it fits on a variety of Rode microphones and AKG microphones, because I tested it all before I set it. So there's a pile of them. Every student gets them for their microphone. I am not letting them use studio headphones. If they absolutely can't afford it, or they don't have earbuds or something, because many of them now are getting Bluetooth devices, I have bought very cheap, like $3 cost headphones, but they're still going to use these guys. But you get them for your microphone, and if you're borrowing our studio headphones in the event that you don't have any, you need to put it on. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it, and afterwards you're wiping these things down. Alcohol wipes for the microphones. The rest of the stuff, they can use the Virex 256. So that's kind of what we're trying to do with our television stuff. Because these are PTZ cameras, this is a 1080-60p camera. Right now it's being downcompressed for zoom, but it's a TV quality camera. We're using these for our news stations, so our news hits. We're not going to have a bunch of people in our control rooms. We're separating them out. Our systems can talk. We're using TriCasters and NDI. So we're separating everybody into 2 different control rooms, and we're limiting the amount of talent that's going to be in the main air studio. We also bought director's chairs, and we're going to do some of our shows outside because you have the ventilation. You can do the 6 feet. We have wide enough lenses and zooms on our cameras, so we're going to be as creative as we possibly can. And if you haven't already, I strongly suggest that you talk to a friend at other institutions or in broadcasting about what their standard operating procedures and their sanitation guides are, and borrow them. I'm talking to Mark Mullen over at Millersville. He sent me his stuff. My friends and colleagues at Beasley Broadcasting, at WHYY, we're all swapping these things out and taking the best ones that work for each other, and adapting it for ourselves. So you may find some things that you didn't think about. Battery chargers, wiping them down, but not making sure you don't hit the power sources on them, so you don't short something out. all of these things I'm grabbing from other people and creating my own SOP. So if you have documents you want to share those type of things or tell us what you're doing, please do it here and do it in the listserv. I'd be happy to share the documents that I have. They're not my brainchild, they're collectives.
Well,
So that's a little bit of what we're doing.
We have a few questions going in, but I wanted to give Laura a chance to see if she had anything she wanted to.
Oh, hi, Laura.
Hopefully, I've got a mic now.
Yay!
All right. I abandoned the RE20 and went to the one on the laptop. So what I can add is that I'm a little shy of wanting to use a ready-made product on our boards. I came up with a wipe myself that is actually a combination of cosmetic wipes and alcohol. And I stored it in a glass jar. And the reason I'm using this is because I can control how saturated these pads are. And I can allow people to use them on the board without fear of anything dripping into the workings of the board. So this turned out to be actually a pretty good idea. The pads are very durable, and you can do the entire board with a single pad. And besides which, these are very cheap. Alcohol's cheap, and I don't have to worry about a supply.
Okay. So some of our first questions we got coming in, we got from Roger Smith asking, how many of you are encouraging students to pre-record shows to upload to your automation systems with all this going on?
That's what we've been doing since March. I've got students and alumni and community volunteers all producing shows from home and sending them to us. I think we have a bit of an advantage over some folks in that we're an Adobe campus, so all of our students can get auditioned for free. So I can teach them how to do things in a common format, which is nice. But yeah, we are, if you've seen my posts about trying to figure out how to get our music library up to the cloud or something, that's because we're making all of our students record remotely and produce things remotely.
We're doing a mixture of both. So my students have before this, before about a week or two ago, they were using Discord to get on the air, or they would be doing they were using the bot Craig to do some of their podcasting. But now we're using cleanfeed.net, and the pro version is incredible. I mean, it's damn near as good as a Comrex codec, Opus codec. It's 320 kilobits per second. The pro version comes with an audio cart deck, and I put my guitar in. I played my guitar down the line just to see what people in two different states thought. They said it was as if they were in the room with me. And when I was playing the clip from Folklore, Taylor Swift sounded like she was in Spotify quality. So it was really good. It's $22 a month for the pro version, but you don't need to have that to do basic functionality. It sounds really good. It's cleanfeed.net. I'll put it in the chat in a second. But we're doing both digital. I mean, we're doing both live and pre-recorded that way. My students also have access because I fall under IT, unlike John. I was able to get my students VPN access. So they are limited to our video and audio server and our Zeta machine. So the students are scheduling out the time that they wish to go into Zeta to go and do voice tracking if they choose to do voice tracking. So we are doing both live and pre-recorded. And even if we do go home, I have the soft surface for the Axia board, so I can still put them live on the air wherever they're at. So we're doing a mixture. They want to do things live, and for the most part, I've been able to accommodate. But if they want to pre-record, it's also really building up our podcast repertoire, and it's giving them the ability to do more long-form talking. Unlike radio, where we're trying to tell them limit your breaks to 15 minutes, 20 minutes at the absolute max if you're really engaging. Here they can do a 45-minute break about what's going on in the NHL right now and not take a single stopping point. And it's been really good for us. We've seen our podcast numbers go up this way too. So I'm encouraging a combination of both. whatever they're comfortable with.
We're having a lot of trouble trying to get people to send in pre-recorded shows. Our community members are doing it and have been doing it since the pandemic started, but unfortunately, the students just don't seem to have an interest. If they can't come into the station, they don't seem to have the desire to do it remotely. I don't know if that's going to change after the, after school starts, which for us is September 2nd. A lot of things may change around here come September 2nd. We're encouraging people to send in pre-recorded shows, which we do put on our BSI automation software. And I have right now set up VPNs for various staff members so that they can do that remotely from home. I'm really about the only person who's been working at the station daily. So yeah, I hope things change after September 2nd.
I will say, trying to get students to do remote shows has led me to an interesting discovery. Our students no longer have physical media, with the exception of vinyl. And many of them don't have a way to record vinyl into their computers. And what normally would have been a CD collection or even digital files on an iPod or a laptop, they now use Pandora and Spotify and make playlists. So they don't even own the music anymore to make shows from home, which is part of why we're looking at trying to do this cloud system of some sort. Because I've had a number of them come back to me and say they'd really like to do shows at home, but they don't own any media at home. So they don't really want to go and purchase all of the songs that they would want to have in a show. I've had lots of requests to just download their Spotify playlists and run them, which I really am not going to do. But it was an interesting discovery that they really, this current crop of students, at least in our case, seems to basically own vinyl or listen to streaming media and doesn't own a lot of physical media anymore.
We were doing some Google Drive stuff at first, and then since I was able to give our students access to our VPN into our server, I'm trying to move anything like our new ads, any music that gets sent to us. I'm downloading it to there and letting them know when I've made a dump into the server for them, and then they're going in and they're adding it to Zeta that way. But all that music stays there too, so they're encouraged, if they're going to do things pre-recorded, to pull their own stuff that way. I'll give a suggestion though, John. Microsoft Teams, if you create a team, if you guys have it, it's actually really incredible how much space you get. And our OneDrives, we basically have unlimited terabytes worth of stuff. I personally, they gave me 3 terabytes because I do video as well. I'm finding that the Teams area may be the best collaborative way to do it, because we can store all of that stuff. It's technically stored on Neumann's stuff. It's not out in a public Google Drive or something like that. You have to authenticate to get to it twice, right? So it may be the best option to get them the files there in a Teams, and then they can download things at will.
At the moment, that is our current best option. I have been emailing back and forth with the IT gods to get their approval. It's a great solution in terms of control, because we can create all of the access points for our students. Their concern, and I think probably everybody's, is whether or not that potentially violates copyright. What my workaround is making the best effort we can to control that, and having the students all sign a contract with us that says they'll download the songs for their shows, and then they will delete the files, and they will not share those files. And that's kind of the best we can do with that.
Some of the labels have also moved to sharing things through Google Drive and through Dropbox. So I've asked permission from our label reps if we can, pass those links on to the students to use. And I haven't gotten a no yet. So it can't hurt if you have good relationships with your your labels or with your promoters to ask them, hey, are you cool if our students do this? You know, they're not going to be sharing it. It's just for that. And most times they're just going to say, hey, if it gets me an ad, that go do whatever you want.
So
Yeah, the problem, of course, is that it's stuff that's already in your library.
Correct. That's something very different.
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
So here's another question for y'all, and for anybody else who, again, if y'all have some questions here, and I'm going to try to get to some of these questions here. What are best practices for cleaning microphone windscreens?
Soap and hot water.
Yeah. I mean, I normally have always pulled them off a couple times a month particularly during the fall when flu comes through the station anyway. Pull them off and Lysol the inside and the outside of them and leave them sit and swap in new ones. I usually will spray them pretty heavily and leave them sit for a couple days before I move them around. But yeah, soap and hot water works.
I
pretty
use
much
like
anything.
dish detergent, like Dawn.
Yeah.
With a big bucket of it, and then all of them go in, and they sit out over the weekend on a table in some paper towels, and they're dry by Monday, and they smell nice.
Yeah, I've seen suggestions of using things other than the mild soap, and I think that it hastens the degradation of the foam. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure about the quaternary ammonia, like Lysol or the Clorox, but I don't know if I would use that. I've just taken, actually, I've abandoned the windscreens for the moment. We're just running bare microphones.
Okay, relating again, coming back to microphones and stuff, and this is also for video and stuff for TV crews. In regards to wipes and gloves and masks, Sean, you spoke to this a little bit earlier. How much are you providing for your students? And in one for the news teams, going out for video, doing their packages, how much are you providing in the kits? And with regard, especially going out into the community, because not all of us can do full newscasts or full stories straight from our campus 100%. So we got to go out in the community to get stories. So how are you doing that to keep that cleaning going?
So we had some basic kits that were already built up, and there was a handful of the alcohol wipes, the individual packeted ones to wipe down. For the most part, students were, exactly what Laura is holding up. If anyone can see, Laura, can you unmute and show people? So if you're in speaker view. Sure.
These are just the alcohol preps that you use before an injection or whatever. You can buy them. They're pretty much still available online.
And we have first aid kits too. So, you never know. Someone might hurt themselves with a pair of pliers and a screwdriver trying to get a plate on. So there's some of that already in those kits. So I'm not really adding any more, because most of the time they're going out and they're predetermined where they're going. They're rarely going out at least for our news stuff. They're very rarely going to multiple locations as one person. They've basically been assigned the story. They just stick in one area and they come back. Now my campus is smaller, so I'm not really adding to that. It's their responsibility. But once they come back in, we'll replenish. So there's five or six of those little wipes in there. But my work studies still clean everything out upon return, or at least before they go out again. So I'm not really going to get too crazy with putting a bunch of stuff in there, because we already have that stuff there. Anyone else want to jump in and actually speak? You don't have to listen to the three of us all the time.
Yeah, I would. One of the things that we've kind of mentioned in the chat, if you haven't already done this, I would recommend everybody reach out to your campus facilities office and find out what they can provide you, so that you don't have to go hunting for it. They assuredly have massive orders in with warehouse distribution companies that are going to be shipping them cases and cases of all of this stuff. And if you can explain to them that you need it for your students and for your facilities protection, they will probably give it all to you. I mean, I normally bought this stuff as a routine thing in the station anyway, but when I contacted facilities and said, you know, I was running low and you can't find any of this stuff right now, they said, yeah, we have orders in with virtually every distributor we've ever used, and as it comes in, we're sharing it around campus. And that afternoon, they delivered me a whole pile of cleaning products and gloves and other stuff. So you may find that you can get a lot of this stuff for free just by reaching out to your facilities office and explaining you need it for student access.
That's not always true.
No, no.
The University of Wisconsin has been slow to provide these basic materials to us. I'll give you an example. Right now, if you order disinfecting wipes, they will send you a bucket of dry towels, and you're supposed to dump whatever solution you want in the bucket and pull out the towels. It's just not acceptable.
Okay, we got another question here for y'all. So a school has provided cleaner to some of the studios called Simple Green, and current practice is to put it on a paper towel and clean the board that way. Is that okay, or should they use alcohol? And then we're somewhat related to this also is how much of your standard operation procedures for cleaning is the station cleaning and versus a DJ or a camera operator? Where's the responsibility? Is it on the individual or the station as a whole?
Both. Everybody's going to have to do it now. Normally, we would do the cleaning as my paid work studies would do it, but now everybody has to. We just have to get in the habit of if you're washing your hands every time you walk in the door, you should be washing wiping the surface down just as a precaution. For the dignity of somebody else's life, just wipe your stuff down when you're done. That's what I'm telling them. We have reverence, integrity. There are our two first values at our campus. So I'm going to say have some reverence and some integrity here, and just take care of everybody. You walk in the room, you wipe down. When you leave, you wipe down. And as a station, we're still going to wipe down our surfaces in addition to the one-on-one. For Jamie's answer, I know that Devecka and I were just commenting back. This is what you want to use. It evaporates very quickly. You don't want a sopping wet anything, especially in electronics. But alcohol for electronics, and do not spray into a mic. Wipe onto the thing. No matter what electronic it is, don't spray into it.
Spray any electronics. Yeah, definitely put it on a wipe. Laura's solution with those makeup pads is a great one because it's a very controllable quantity and it's a controllable surface, so you're not going to be having someone shake a bottle upside down on a cloth and spilling it and having it drip everywhere. It'll evaporate quickly and it'll kill pretty much everything. And basic, 70% rubbing alcohol is available lots and lots and lots of places. It wasn't for a little while, but it's around again.
It makes a great student gift basket.
Oh, side note on that too. I don't know if this is true everywhere. Maryland has changed its alcohol laws, and we now have a lot of distilleries and things that have come up. All of the distilleries in our region have converted to producing hand sanitizer with ethyl alcohol. It is actually cheaper than a lot of regular hand sanitizers, just as effective and easy to get. So if you can't find that stuff around, just Google your local distilleries and you may find that they're providing it at a good price. I spent $120 and got a 5-gallon container of the sanitizer from the local distillery, and goes, you just refill little spray bottles and people can squirt it on their hands and clean, and it's easy.
John, you didn't spend 120 just on hand sanitizer.
Well, that's what I told the procurement card people. Oh, wait, this is being recorded. Oh.
I wanted to recommend, if it hasn't been mentioned, the EPA website has a pesticide, they call it pesticide, the disinfectants that we're using, but they talk about the efficacy of almost all of your available products regarding COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2. And we can post that website or that link if people aren't familiar with this website. It's a great place to go. They talk about how much time it takes to render the virus itself ineffective. So we'll post that later.
For those, another question for those video folks, and again, Sean, you may be able to speak to this a little bit more. Besides the news kits for those video film folks who are going out and doing field productions and stuff, are you doing that? And then how are you maintaining what's probably being passed around multiple times, cameras and mics and all that stuff on location compared to a one-man band reporter going out with a single kit?
Well, for us, our TV program is pretty small, and the same students that are a part of our radio station tend to also be involved in our TV studio. Our newscast, we only have really, we have 4 on-air talents and really 2 photogs that go out. So for the most part, they're pretty much always going out with the same equipment. So we don't really have that much volume of sharing equipment. And I have, like I said earlier, we have 30 kits, 15 are designated off for the class, and the other ones I more or less can assign those photographers their own camera kit, and most of them end up working for me too. So I'm really limiting it to those people, and once they find the kit that they're going to take, that's going to be their assigned kit for the rest of the semester. Like I said, outside of classes and the direct work that they do for me, I'm not signing camera kits out to the random schmo that walks in and ask, I want to go play with it. Sorry, our resources are limited, and I need to have backups in case something happens and someone accidentally breaks it or something like that. So I'm being very frugal with my resources this semester, and I'm just limiting it to, this is your camera for the semester. And when I run out of things to give away, assign them to, they're done.
Are there, I'm not sure with so many, are there any other video people here who are doing, say, short films or standard web series or stuff that could maybe also speak to those field productions that you would normally see on a film set or anything? Anybody?
Yeah. Hi, Tony Dalton from Muhlenberg College. And yeah, long story short, we were all going to come back, and now only freshmen are going to come back. And what became basically a 12-page document on what we were going to do, we pretty much have to throw out. But the plan is still, whenever students need equipment for a class, to basically give it to them, sign it out for the entire semester, and make sure that they sign a lot of documentation saying, this is yours for the semester. This is what you have to do to take care of it. This is how you can keep yourself safe and the equipment safe. But the other problem that we're having is that there are a lot of students who are upperclassmen, who are production students. And we're literally on emails today just saying, like, what can we do? And the biggest thing that's come up that's made me kind of shudder a little bit is the question, well, can we ship them the equipment? Which is a very expensive endeavor. And my first reaction is, yeah, I don't want to do that. So at least for like the kind of freshmen or the first years, we're just going to rent it out for the entire semester. On top of that, we've been having, students asking for laptops and things that can do the editing and all of that sort of thing. And we just don't have enough laptops, nor do we want to ship those out. So IT has been really busting their hump trying to get virtual desktops up and running that can actually handle doing, video production, editing. So that's been another sort of piece of this that we've been trying to play with.
And I guess I'll also speak because Barry, where I'm at in Georgia, we do mostly video productions. And so one of the things here, which I was curious about as well, is that we have our productions here at our station, but then we also have news classes going on and a filmmaking class going on, and we all use the same equipment. So we have potentially 3 to 4 classes using the equipment along with just the station equipment, because we're, again, part of our department, so we're having to work through that and just trying to figure out the cleaning. So one thing we are doing is we've got the college was able to procure, at least right now, and we're able to get some for ourselves, is we're getting lots of the latex gloves to hand out to the filmmaking class so that they can, anytime that they're using equipment, a camera, they're having it. And then right now we're also doing, I think, something similar to Sean on some instances, is that as equipment's coming in, we're wiping it down, cleaning it up, and then also as it's going back out, we're also, so you're kind of getting a 2 cleaning procedure as it's coming in and going back out. So hopefully that will get rid of anything that we have, and hopefully, I mean, I'm sure that there's probably going to be some lapses somewhere. It's going to be this, but I'm hoping that at least with the plan of having a wipe in and a wipe out, that it's getting at least a good cleaning one time before it's gets checked back out. But
something. Something I might add. If you allow these particles, the droplets, to dry on a piece of equipment, on your countertop, on your board, if you allow them to dry, they become harder to remove, yet they can still be active. So if you wipe your stuff down immediately after use, I think you get a better cleaning. I don't know that there is research out there to back me up on that, but it's easier to remove the droplets and do it. Obviously, cleaning things twice has its advantages too. So I really think cleaning immediately after use is important, as well as before you come on your shift or begin using the equipment, because then you're confident that what you're using is clean.
That's it. And Shane Rodrigues just jumped on with talking about some of the videos. Shane, you mind jumping on here and speaking to some of what you're doing?
Most of our things that we're doing is remotely. My multi-camera production class is not going to fly because there's no events to cover and other things like that. So that's what we're doing here at the university. And there's a professor that's teaching. I'm the broadcast operations manager, so I'm trying to figure out, like you all, how to do this. But we have a beginning class. What we're trying to do is they have certain checkout times. As I'm in Los Angeles, and there's a lot of rules and regulations regarding production, and I'll share that with you, that my friend actually is doing. She became a COVID compliance officer during some training. So there's actually some training that I'm going to try and take next week to share with our department of film and television and broadcast journalism on some of the fun things of that. But I'll also post that in the chat that if you want to take the training, it's $50 for a training. And she goes, this is the most, she's an independent filmmaker, and she goes, this is the hardest thing I've ever done besides producing, is trying to make everybody compliant on a production shoot. So most of our production shoots in groups are discouraged by the administrators, but I do have some friends that are working on some shows in the, like our graduates that are working in the LA area on The Voice and another one. So they're trying to be compliant and do all of that kind of stuff. So it's, for us at the University of Laverne, we're trying, the news kits will go out. That's why I asked about news kits, because they're Sean, they're going to be just checked out, like you say. 12 kits that we have will be going out to 12 kits, and I'm not going to see that to come back. So the other question is, do I feel safe giving them some wipes? But you know, sometimes if they're doing newscasts and they're doing things with gloves, they'll run out of gloves, and students won't buy gloves. Do we really, I feel more confident if they can come back, but I don't know what you guys else feel about that. You know, if they're running out of supplies of alcohol wipes, I feel like, because we gave them, the university gave them, we're sort of liable and in some ways responsible. And I kind of want to give them a little stepping stool. But if I were giving you guys stuff, you guys have some other, you know, other faculty members, I know they have some other PPE things, but you know, that's what we're kind of doing at the university. But all our other cinematography class, I think we're just doing, they may get some assigned kits, but it's not going to be a back and forth check in and out. It's more, this is the semester and you're done with it. And at the end, we'll do a check-in time where I'll be in a hazmat suit or something, and they come back in every 30 minutes or things like that. So
one of the things that I've been thinking about is we're doing a lot of preparation in anticipation of doing what we did prior to March 13th, which was a Friday, by the way. So I haven't actually talked to any of my students and asked them if they plan on doing any of this stuff. Has anyone actually gotten feedback from their students if they anticipate taking gear out, anticipate still participating? Because we could be doing a lot of things for naught if we have no students that are willing to come back and participate. Now I have a handful that are, you know, trying to get in right now. They've been asking me for what seems like, you know, 5 months. Can we come back yet? But there's a lot who I haven't heard from at all. So I was wondering if people have heard from their students. Do they still plan to participate when they get back, or are they taking a safety measure?
Go ahead, Paul.
We have approximately 28 students on our student staff. I would say at least half of those will be participating in some way. Some because they're students who will be allowed on campus as upperclassmen will be able to come into the studio, because we never went off the air. We've been going with community staff since March 13th. And we've been going with pre-recorded shows. So we're going to have a combination of some folks here live, some folks that will be doing the pre-recorded stuff. And they seem to be really into it. My station manager actually did a series of shows over the summer where she transformed what she usually does, which is a mashup of world music, especially Bollywood and Asian music, with interviews with students and how they're affected by various things, from what's going on health-wise to people of color, people of different interviews with professors, with students, with alumni. So that thing's really morphed into a really nice piece for us. But yeah, as far as the audio side, and Tony's over on the other side of the building of me, not right now though, he looks like he's in a much nicer place. He, you know, we're going to have good support, and we're fortunate that we have community staff that also fills in. And I'm also fortunate that we're small enough, and my administration allowed me to do these things. I know a lot of people didn't even have the option, but we've gone so far as to do some of the things we've talked about. We've got the the earphone covers in place that can be used for earphones and for microphones. We've got the wipes, we've got the gloves. We have, we're alternating between our production and FM studio to broadcast. And we have partitions already in place to keep the 3 mic positions separated. So if we have 3 people in there. So we're doing all these things, and I'm confident that, you know, we're still going to remain on the air. Don't know how many people in the studio, but we're going to be doing it.
Shane, real quick, go ahead.
Our station opened back up just after July 4th because we're in the Auxiliary Student Center, and that's when the building opened. And about 15 students came back for regular DJ shifts. And we actually started class Monday, and I had 20 more to the schedule. So I have about 35 total, which is less than half what we usually have. But some just aren't on campus because they have online classes.
Shane, with the remote video and the multicam thing, I mentioned this on a previous call. I don't think it was the CBI call. I think it was the one that John had gotten together just for what are we all doing at our schools. Live Stream Studio, the software, has a really great feature where you can have 5 remote studio cameras come in using the webcam. Now I have a Blackmagic capture card with this PTZ, so I have a really nice camera. And we were doing a lot of remote studio work by Google Chrome and having a camera plugged in. And Blackmagic sells these little $100 converters now. They're USB-C or Thunderbolt, whichever, if you're a Mac person, that's what you want to call it. And they have a BNC or SDI connection on the end and a HDMI. They're $100, and it'll convert, you know, a high quality camera into a webcam, into a capture device. And with that live stream studio software, we were doing multi-camera switching, and I was able to give a student who was in Northeast Philadelphia and I was in Westchester, I gave them control of the switcher, and they were doing it all over Google Chrome. So there's some really cool production software that's out there. And Livestream was purchased by Vimeo a few years ago, so they have the backbone of Vimeo behind it. It's really high quality stuff, and we actually added 2 new shows over the course of COVID because of how easy it was to use.
That's good. That's good to know. Thanks. Yeah, we run a community television stations for the city of San Dimas and Laverne. So the events that we usually cover are high school concerts, parades, athletics, and other things which aren't happening right now.
Okay, so we have a couple more questions here. So first question is, and I know we're getting to the hour mark and probably wrapping up soon, so we'll try to get through these real quick. Has anyone done anything with UV disinfecting?
It's pretty expensive.
I haven't, but I can tell you there are a lot of things, there are a lot of strikes against it. First of all, it's the inverse square law. You have to get it close to whatever it is you're trying to disinfect, and it's dose related. So you have to have it powerful enough and long enough to kill the virus. And we're talking, probably an hour at a distance of about 4 feet for most of the lights that I shouldn't say most, because the intensity of the lights varies incredibly widely. So I would stay away from it, besides which it's dangerous. It's akin to the same frequencies that a welder's arc produces. And you can see that a welder has to wear that visor. I mean, it's for sparks, but also they'll get sunburned, they'll damage their eyes. You can do the same if you're using this stuff. I just don't think that it's something that most of us can use and use safely.
Okay. Another question, and this is for those of you who have students, allowing students back in to use the studio. Are you, any of y'all, doing back-to-back shifts with students in the coming in back-to-back, or are you breaking it up? And if you are doing back-to-back, and assuming there's no downtime, how is it, well, assuming it's getting clean, how are y'all handling all this?
I'm gonna have to wait and see what my program schedule looks like. I don't really let them begin to start to get a show until the semester starts back up. They do some sort of a training. If they're returning students, they have to check in with me first. So before I can give an honest answer to that, it depends on what they're signing up for. Some of them, 1 o'clock may be the only time on Monday, that's the only time available, and I have somebody butt up against them at 2. I might get creative, and I might make the 1 o'clock show be in the main studio and the 2 o'clock show be in the secondary studio, so we can have more time to disinfect. So that's kind of where I'm leaning towards. I mentioned earlier, our air studio is pretty large, and the desk is a 10-foot long desk. We're talking possibly of holding music meetings or things like that in that studio, as opposed to the small studios and letting the small studio become an air studio. So we're really just kind of looking at what comes in when the students get here, and I'm going to use all of the resources that I have to spread them out effectively. But I don't have an answer until I see what their schedule is going to look like.
I am a little worried about because the transmission of this virus seems to be through aerosols primarily. I'm worried about the virus hanging around in the air. And I think it's important to let the studio air out, let there be an exchange of the air in the studio. And so we're going for an hour of downtime between shows. It just seems safer, gives us time to wipe things down, and it also prevents traffic from colliding, people coming in, people going out. That's for phase 1. We'll obviously change that later on, but for startup, we're alternating shows. And we're cutting that down by, we usually do 1-hour shows. Right now, we're doing 2-hour shows. It's a totally different schedule than we're used to. It won't allow a lot of people to have shows on site. I don't know what kind of response we're getting. Our program director, who does the scheduling, has been out. He's got military duties. He's been away from the station, so he'll be back this weekend and I'll know more. But yeah, our schedule is quite a bit different than what people are used to.
Any time for one last question if anybody's got one? Raise your hand, yell at me. Nothing?
Can I add a little something?
Absolutely.
I'm surprised we touched on it a little bit with the ultraviolet light, the UVC. I just talked about the aerosols. I'm surprised nobody brought up HVAC systems. And I just thought I'd mention, they tell us that we want more outside air. We have no windows we can open here. They tell us that, there are things you can do to the HVAC, but it's just not possible in our building. I don't think that there's an easy way or an economical way to alter most HVAC systems. And I just want to caution people against some of the easy fixes that you see out there, kind of on the order of UVC. UVC works, but it has to be designed and implemented properly. There's also something called bipolar ionization that is out there that a lot of HVAC companies are trying to sell you. I just would be very careful before you invest in some of these quick fixes. That's it.
John, you want to say something?
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you,
actually, I had something on that just real quick. I'm still waiting to get the answer back from our facilities people, but they were planning on installing UV systems inside ductwork in most of the main buildings. Our station, because of the way it was built, has its own HVAC just for the station that doesn't serve anything else in the building. And I had requested that they look into whether or not putting a UV light inside our air handler over the coils, et cetera, would be possible and at least potentially helpful and not detrimental. The concern being that UV light intensity can damage paper filters and other media. So it has to be something that's designed specifically to work with the ducts. I have not heard back from them yet. Obviously, they're going 4,000 different directions, but that was a hope as a way, because like Laura, we don't have windows in the station. We don't have a way to bring fresh air in other than through our HVAC system. And one of my worries was we could have someone sick in one studio sharing it with the whole facility. And the hope was that if UV inside the ductwork might help reduce that, it was a worthwhile investment. They've also said that they're going to be changing out the filters in our system, and they're going to be coming in weekly to change filters. So I don't know, again, how much any of that will help, but it's every little bit that might help is a worthwhile shot.
When we designed our building, there's a return in each of the rooms, but each individual studio has its own cassette with its own coil up top. So each one is bringing in individualized air, and then the return is sucking everything out and using another system. So we designed that 4 years ago, not anticipating a pandemic, but it does give us a little bit of a leg up. They're independent systems, in each of the 12 rooms in the building are on independent systems. So it's helpful. It's not always reassuring, but it's helpful that we know that the air coming in is fresh for each unit. It's not being passed through.
Okay,
Roger Smith, I shared a document about cleaning protocols earlier on. For cleaning, it's up in the chat if people missed it, but I can also share that and a couple other cleaning documents, to-dos and don'ts on the listserv. So I'll do that when we're finished.
And so we'll ask two quick questions here. One related to the filters: is anybody bringing in portable air filters with HEPA filters to help in the studio, like Honeywell or Dyson type filters? Anybody?
At a former radio station I did, we had mold problems. They didn't do an awful lot to alleviate the mold issue, but they did placate some of the hosts and some of the people who were complaining. And that kind of brings up another issue. Safety has a lot to do with people's comfort and their hazard, ability to tolerate risks. So if it makes if it makes the people in the building feel safer, then I would say go for it. They're usually not that expensive.
Okay, and then our last question is: been talking about the alcohol and alcohol wipes. Is anybody in their cleaning protocols putting in aerosol disinfecting spray as part of their cleaning procedures?
There's an issue with aerosols. Usually a disinfectant is hazardous to breathe in. So you really want to minimize the risks. Most disinfectants are toxic. So I don't think that there is a safe aerosol that will bring down the virus, if you will.
All right. Thank you to our moderators, John, Sean, and Laura. We appreciate you being with us. This will be recorded so y'all can come back in and check everything out later if you missed something. For those of you who don't know me, because I'm not College Broadcasters Incorporated, I'm Stephen Haynes. I'm the secretary for CBI and handle membership. You can email me at membership@askcbi.org, and I'll help you out as best I can, or I will pass you off to some of the other board and let them figure it out for you. So a couple of things real quick as we're wrapping up here. Next Wednesday, August 19th, there's going to be an advisor instructor back to school roundtable. It's going to be at 5 p.m. Eastern time. We hope you will join us for that. We're just going to kind of get together. It's kind of like a happy hour, but not really a titled a happy hour. But we're going to get together and chat and see how things are going and share advice as we continue dealing with all these problems. So RSVP is online. To find the RSVP and to find out other upcoming webinars we are planning, go to resources on the askcbi.org, and you will and then scroll down to online discussions and webinars, and you will find the RSVP there, and then also a list of what's coming up. What's not listed right now but is in the coming down the pipeline here in a few weeks, we just don't know the firm date yet, will be the announcement of finalists for the National Student Production Awards for this year. That's coming here in a few weeks. We will post more when we know a firm date of when we're going to start the announcements of that. In the meantime, let's continue the discussion with the listserv and email and in our social media, Facebook, Twitter. Get on there and you'll let's keep this conversation going, because I know there's many more questions we all have here that haven't been answered, or things that we're going to think of here as soon as we get off this call, which always happens, and think of it for next week or over the weekend, and we're like, why did I ask this when we were on there? So please feel free to use the listserv, really get on there and help us out. And again, thank you all for joining us today, and we hope to see you all next Wednesday at the Advisor. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.